Some cars broke speed records, others broke the rules, and a few, they broke time itself. This isn't just a list of rare cars. This is a tribute to American machines that dared to be different and sometimes paid the price for it. Number 1, 1962, Chrysler turbine car. Imagine pulling up to the gas station and filling your car with cooking oil. That's the kind of wild future Chrysler imagined with the 1962 turbine car. This bronze beauty ran on a literal turbine engine. Similar to those used in helicopters, it could burn almost any fuel: gasoline, diesel, kerosene, even perfume. The sound? A high-pitched jet whine. The drive? Smooth and surreal. Chrysler built only 55 of them, handing them out for a public test program. But government regulations and high production costs shut the dream down. All but a few were destroyed. Today, the turbine car is a piece of what-if history. A moment when Detroit dared to ask, what if your car didn't need pistons or even gas? It didn't last, but it was unforgettable. 2. 1957 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. In the late 1950s, Cadillac did something crazy. It built a car more expensive than a Rolls-Royce. Enter the Eldorado Brougham, a chrome-drenched spaceship on wheels. With suicide doors, air suspension, and a stainless steel roof, it looked like it came from another planet. The interior? Fridges, atomizers, even magnetic cocktail tumblers. Under the hood was a 325-horsepower V8, but this wasn't about speed. It was about outrageous American luxury. Only 400 units were made, each one hand-built at nearly $13,000. A fortune at the time. Most luxury cars follow trends. The Brougham created them. It was too expensive to last, but it redefined what a luxury car could be. Today, it's not just rare, it's mythic. 3. 1970, AMC AMX/3. You've heard of Mustangs and Camaros. But what about the AMX/3? A mid-engine supercar from AMC, the brand known for economy cars. Yeah, this one's different. Designed with help from BMW and built by Italian coach builders, the AMX/3 was supposed to be AMC's entry into the exotic sports car world. It had a 390 cubic inch V8 mid-mounted in a steel monocoque chassis. Top speed? Over 160 miles per hour. It looked like a Ferrari, drove like a beast, and was way ahead of its time. But AMC was too small and the project too expensive. Only 5 were ever completed. Today, each is a priceless piece of what could have been. If Detroit had gone supercar in 1970, this was it. Number 4, 1963 Studebaker Avanti. It looked like a spaceship, drove like a muscle car, and came from one of America's smallest automakers. The 1963 Studebaker Avanti was a shock to the system. Designed in a record-breaking 40 days, it featured a fiberglass body, futuristic lines, and disc brakes on all 4 wheels. A first for an American production car. With a supercharged V8 option, the Avanti could hit 170 miles per hour, setting multiple land speed records. Inside, it had aviation-inspired dials and bucket seats built for serious driving. It was supposed to save Studebaker. It didn't. Production issues, poor marketing, and company mismanagement doomed it, but it left behind one of the boldest, strangest, and most forward-thinking designs of its time. Today, the Avanti isn't just a car. 1954 Kaiser Darrin. You've probably never heard of it, but you'll never forget the doors. The 1954 Kaiser Darrin had sliding doors that disappeared into the front fenders. That's right, they didn't open out. They slid into the car's body. It was the first American fiberglass sports car, arriving just before the Corvette. Under the hood was a 90-horsepower engine. Modest, but the Darrin was about style, not speed. The heartbeat grille, swooping lines, and unique roofline made it look like a concept car that somehow escaped into the real world. Only 435 were built, and while Kaiser Motors shut down soon after, the Darrin lives on as one of the quirkiest and most original American cars ever made. Doors like that, no one dared try it again. Number 6. 1971 Plymouth Hemi Cuda convertible. Want to know what American muscle looks like at its absolute peak? It's the 1971 Hemi Cuda convertible. With a 426 cubic inch Hemi V8 under the hood, this wasn't just fast, it was brutal. 0 to 60? Around 5 seconds. Only 11 of these convertibles were ever built, and they came with a price tag. And now, a legacy. One example sold at auction for over $3.5 million, making it one of the most valuable American cars ever. Why? It was the end of an era. After 71, emissions laws and insurance rates killed the muscle car dream. This was the last hurrah, loud, rare, and unapologetic. The Hemi Cuda wasn't built to last. It was built to burn. Rubber, fuel, and everything in its way. Yeti Bindoku's Uzeli Alta Continental Mark II. Sometimes a car isn't built to sell. It's built to impress. The 1956 Continental Mark II was Lincoln's moonshot. With a $10,000 price tag, twice the cost of a Cadillac, it was meant to be the most luxurious car in the world. Each unit was hand-assembled. No shortcuts, no mass production. Its design was restrained elegance. Clean lines, subtle chrome, and a sculpted profile that looked decades ahead. Inside, hand-stitched leather, real wood, and the silence of a library on wheels. Only about 3,000 were made before Ford quietly ended the program because it lost money on every single one. But the Mark II achieved what it was meant to. It reminded the world that Lincoln could be the best, even if it meant going broke proving it. 8. 1987 Buick GNX. Forget flashy sports cars. In the 80s, this was the street king. The all-black, all-business Buick GNX. No spoilers, no chrome, no loud graphics, just turbocharged menace. Under its understated skin was a turbo V6 pushing out 276 horsepower, though real numbers were likely higher. With 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, it outran Ferraris and Corvettes, while looking like a banker's car. Only 547 were made in 1987, the final year of the Grand National line. It was a mic drop. Buick left the muscle game after this and never came back. The GNX proved something radical. You don't need a V8 to dominate. Just a turbo, a black paint job, and zero mercy. 9. 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. This isn't just rare, it's mythical. In 1969, Chevy quietly offered a version of the Camaro with an all-aluminum 427 cubic inch racing engine. The ZL1 wasn't on showroom floors. It had to be special ordered, and it cost nearly twice the price of a regular Camaro. It made over 500 horsepower on pumped gas, and it was legal to drive on the street. Barely. Just 69 were built. Why? Because it wasn't meant for the public. It was for drag strips and the few dealers crazy enough to offer it. Today, surviving ZL1s are unicorns. Brutal, loud, untouchable. The kind of car that legends are built around and garages are built to house. Number 10. 1959 DeSoto Adventurer. If you want a snapshot of 1950s optimism, look no further than the DeSoto Adventurer. Tail fins that could slice wind. Chrome like a mirror. Powered by a 383 cubic inch Golden Commando Vive 8, the Adventurer delivered both flash and performance. Inside, push-button transmission, two-tone leather, and a dash that looked like an airplane cockpit. But the dream didn't last. DeSoto was already on shaky ground, and the Adventurer, despite its beauty, couldn't save it. 1959 was its final model year. Today, it's a forgotten treasure from a brand that vanished almost overnight. But the Adventurer? It's one of the last great expressions of the jet age fantasy, when cars didn't just drive, they flew. 11. 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. It looked ridiculous. On purpose, the Dodge Charger Daytona was built to cheat the wind and win on NASCAR tracks. With a massive nose cone and a 23-inch rear wing, it sliced through the air like a jet. Under the hood, a 440 Magnum or the legendary 426 Hemi. It wasn't just fast, it was unstoppable. It became the first car in NASCAR history to break 200 miles per hour. But the outrageous design didn't click with buyers. It was too weird, too much. Only 503 units were made to satisfy NASCAR rules. Today, it's a collector's crown jewel and a symbol of the brief, glorious moment when aerodynamics ruled American racing. The Daytona wasn't a pretty face. It was a weapon. 12. 1958 Buick Limited Riviera. If the 50s were about excess, the 1958 Buick Limited Riviera was the peak. Chrome? It had more of it than some entire cars today. Stretching nearly 19 feet long, this beast was Buick's most luxurious offering. Under the hood, a 364 V8. Inside, sculpted two-tone leather, deep pile carpeting, and a dashboard that looked like a jukebox. It was a rolling celebration of everything America was in the post-war boom. Big, shiny, unapologetic. But here's the twist. Buick priced it too high. In a year of recession, few buyers wanted it. Sales tanked. The Limited was quietly dropped after just one model year. It didn't last. but it left an impression. One of the most visually insane and lavish cars ever built in the US. 13. 1981 DeLorean DMC-12. Everyone knows it from Back to the Future, but the real DeLorean story? Way weirder. Built in Northern Ireland by a former GM executive, the DMC-12 looked like science fiction. Gull-wing doors, brushed stainless steel body, and a wedge profile straight out of Blade Runner. But under that flashy skin was a sluggish 130 horsepower V6. It wasn't fast, it wasn't cheap, and the company went bankrupt after only 2 years. Still, the DeLorean became iconic. Hollywood gave it a second life, and turned a failure into a cult legend. Only about 9,000 were made. Most are still around, babied by fans who see more than just a car. They see a time machine, and in a way, it was. 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, screaming chicken on the hood, T-tops, and attitude for days. The 1977 Trans Am didn't just star in Smokey and the Bandit, it was the movie. With a 6.6-liter V8 under the hood and a look that radiated swagger, this car screamed freedom to an entire generation. It wasn't the fastest on paper, but it had presence, a rolling symbol of rebellion, beer runs, and Burt Reynolds cool. Sales exploded after the movie. Pontiac couldn't build them fast enough. And while the Firebird name died off in the 2000s, the 77 Trans Am remains the most famous of them all. A muscle car with star power and maybe the coolest hood decal in history. 1963 Buick Riviera. Think of it as the American Aston Martin. The 1963 Riviera was lean, elegant, and dangerously stylish. No tail fins, no fluff, just a sharp, muscular body and a sinister stance. Under the hood, a 401 nailhead V8 with 325 horsepower. Smooth, powerful, and refined. This wasn't about flash, it was about presence. It became the favorite ride of CEOs, gangsters, and anyone who wanted to look like they owned the room. Designed to rival Europe's best GT cars, the Riviera was Buick's finest hour. And it introduced a new kind of American luxury. Cool, clean, and slightly dangerous. If James Bond were from Chicago, he'd drive this. 16. 1989 Pontiac Turbo Trans Am. You've heard of the 77 Trans Am, but the 1989 Turbo version? Almost nobody talks about it, and that's a crime. To celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Trans Am, Pontiac dropped a Buick GNX-derived turbocharged V6 into it. Yes, a V6, but this wasn't a downgrade. It was faster than the Corvette, quicker than the Mustang, and it could hit 150 miles per hour with ease. GM didn't advertise it much, fearing it would overshadow their other cars. Only 1,555 were made, and it quietly became one of the fastest American cars of the decade. It wasn't loud, it didn't need to be. It just obliterated expectations and left before anyone noticed. A stealth legend. Number 17, 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS454 LS6. Muscle cars don't get much scarier than this. The 1970 Chevelle SS454 LS6 was pure aggression wrapped in steel. Under the hood, a 7.4-liter V8 pushing 450 horsepower, a number no other factory muscle car of its era matched. It could tear down a quarter mile in the low 13s, and do it with style. Long hood, wide stance, dual stripes. It looked like it meant business, because it did. The LS6 wasn't around for long. Rising insurance rates and federal regulations slammed the brakes on the muscle car era. And by 71, it was over. But the Chevelle SS454 left behind a legacy as the most powerful factory muscle car Detroit ever built. It didn't just roar, it thundered. Number 18, 1964 Ford Thunderbolt. Ford didn't just dip its toes into racing in the 60s, it cannonballed in. The 1964 Thunderbolt was a factory-built drag car disguised as a street-legal sedan. Ford took a lightweight Fairlane body and stuffed in a 427 cubic inch V8 rated at 425 horsepower, but everyone knew it made more. No heater, no radio, plexiglass windows. This car wasn't for driving to the grocery store, it was for blowing past everything at the strip. Only 100 units were built to qualify for NHRA competition. They were sold through dealerships, but most went straight to racers. The Thunderbolt was loud, raw, and totally impractical, but it was brutally effective. And now, it's one of the most valuable and rarest factory muscle machines ever made. Ford didn't care if it was comfortable. They just wanted it to win. 19. 1967 Cadillac Eldorado front-wheel drive, a massive V8. And styling that looked like a concept car. The 1967 Cadillac Eldorado didn't care about convention. It was sharp-edged, low-slung, and loaded with luxury. But it also had a 429 cubic inch engine pumping out 340 horsepower. It was smooth on the outside and surprisingly savage underneath. The front-wheel drive layout gave it excellent traction and a totally unique driving feel. This wasn't your grandfather's Caddy. It was a silent, menacing land missile in a tailored suit. The Eldorado showed that Cadillac could innovate, not just imitate. And in an era of muscle cars and rebellion, it offered something new, executive muscle. Refined, ruthless, revolutionary. Number 20, 1991 GMC Syclone. A pickup truck that could smoke a Ferrari 348 off the line? Yeah, that happened. The 1991 GMC Syclone looked like a regular black Sonoma with a body kit. But under the hood was a turbocharged 4.3-liter V6 and all-wheel drive, making it a monster in disguise. 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. Faster than anything in its price range at the time. It was quiet, fast, and totally unexpected. Only 2,995 were made before the project was scrapped. Too expensive, too weird, too awesome for the early 90s. The Syclone redefined what a pickup could be, if only for a moment. It didn't tow much, but it sure pulled away from everything else. 21 1971 Ford Mustang Mach, 1429 Super Cobra Jet. The Mustang started as a light sporty pony car, but by 1971, it had become a full-on brawler. Enter the Mach 1429 Super Cobra Jet. A long, aggressive body, a massive hood scoop. And under that, a 429 cubic inch V8 pushing up to 375 horsepower. It wasn't refined, it was raw muscle, just before emissions laws and fuel crises killed the vibe. Equipped with drag strip gearing and an optional drag pack, the Mach 1 was built for domination, not comfort. It was heavy, loud, and brutal, and that's why purists still love it. This was one of the last truly untamed Mustangs. After 71, the Mustang went soft, but for a moment, it was a beast. Number 22, 1955 Chrysler 300. Long before Camaros and Chargers, Chrysler quietly launched a performance revolution. It was called the 300, and it changed everything. Nicknamed the banker's hot rod, the 1955 Chrysler C300 came with a 300 horsepower Hemi 5.8, unheard of for the time. It was fast, heavy, and luxurious, a car that could cruise all day and crush the competition at NASCAR. Its clean design, mesh grille, and two-door coupe shape made it a sleeper hit. But this was no gimmick. It won races, set records, and laid the foundation for the entire muscle car era to come. You don't hear its name often today, but every Mustang, GTO, and Chevelle owes this car a thank you. The Chrysler 300 was the original blueprint for American performance. Number 23. 1996 Chevrolet Impala SS. In the 90s, performance cars were fading fast, but Chevy pulled one last surprise from its bag. The 1996 Impala SS took a full-size Caprice sedan and gave it attitude. A 260 horsepower LT 1V8, stiffened suspension, and blacked out everything. It looked like a detective's car and moved like a Corvette in a suit. No spoilers, no flash, just understated aggression. Cops drove them, enthusiasts worshipped them. And then, Chevy killed it after just 3 years. The Impala SS became an instant cult classic, a muscle car in disguise. Proof that even in the era of minivans and SUVs, Detroit could still surprise you. 24, 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado. In 1966, Oldsmobile did something absolutely bonkers. They made a front-wheel drive car with a massive 425 cubic inch V8. That was the Toronado. It looked like a custom show car, hidden headlights, fastback roof, and a stance that oozed confidence. It drove like nothing else, gripping the road in bad weather and handling way better than expected. At the time, front-wheel drive was basically unheard of in the US, especially in big, powerful coupes. But the Toronado made it cool. It was a design and engineering experiment that actually worked. And today, it stands as one of the boldest moves ever made by a conservative brand like Oldsmobile. It broke the rules. And sometimes, that's exactly what the industry needs. Number 25, 1948 Tucker 48. This one ends the list, and might be the most important. The Tucker 48 wasn't just a car, it was a revolution. Designed by Preston Tucker, it featured safety features nobody else dared to offer. A rear-mounted engine, a padded dash, a pop-out windshield, a center headlight that turned with the wheels. In 1948, Detroit wasn't ready for it, and some say they made sure it would never succeed. Only 51 were built before lawsuits, politics, and pressure crushed the company. But the Tucker's legend only grew. Collectors would kill to own one. And car designers? They still study it today. It was a glimpse of the future. A car built for safety, style, and innovation, in a world that wanted none of it. The Tucker 48 wasn't ahead of its time. It was the future, and they shut it down. Outro, machines that time almost forgot. Some of these cars were legends, some were flops, and some, like the Tucker, were simply too good for the world they entered. But they all mattered. They all took risks, and they all left tire marks, not just on roads, but in history. If you've made it this far, you know this wasn't just a list. It was a tribute to bold ideas, wild designs, and the beautiful chaos of American car culture. So tell us, which one would you drive? Which one would you hide in your garage forever? Leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that take you where no ordinary road ever will.